There's a strange pattern that happens inside of a lot of organizations. The people that are easiest to work with often end up carrying a lot of the load. They solve problems, they take on extra responsibility, they help everyone succeed, and yet somehow they're the ones that feel stuck, not promoted, not recognized, just relied on. Today, we're going to talk about the career trap of being easy to work with, because in many organizations, the person who is typically easiest to work with is also the easiest to overload. Now, before we go any further, let's be clear. Being professional and the ability to collaborate is a good thing. Organizations need people who are capable, cooperative, and solutions-oriented. The problem isn't collaboration. The problem is when reliability turns into silent availability. And once that happens, something subtle starts to shift in how people see you. Not as a leader, not as a strategic voice, but as the person who will always take care of the problem. And that perception can quietly limit your career growth. Most confident professionals develop a reputation for reliability. If something needs to get done, leadership knows they can go to you. At first, that feels like recognition. People trust you. They depend on you. You become the person that makes things happen. But over time, something subtle happens. The organization stops seeing you as someone who can create leverage and starts seeing you as somebody who absorbs problems. More work flows towards you, more requests, more responsibilities. And because you're reliable, you handle them, which also reinforces the cycle until one day, you notice something strange. You're carrying more responsibility than ever, but your career hasn't really moved. If you're always the easiest person to work with, you slowly become the easiest person to overload. Now, this dynamic is not usually malicious. It's structural. Organizations are constantly trying to solve problems. And when a leader has a difficult situation or a difficult problem that they need to solve, they naturally go to the person who they know can solve it. They naturally look for someone that they can trust. So they go to the most capable person in the room, you. And every time you solve another problem, something happens in leadership's mind. They begin to associate you with execution, not authority, not strategic influence, execution. Now, execution is valuable, but execution alone doesn't always lead to promotion. Promotion usually goes to the person that leadership sees being capable of directing the work, not just absorbing it. And if your reputation becomes the person that always handles it, you unintentionally trap yourself in that role. The more reliable you become, the more problems the organization sends your way. Quick pause here. If you're someone who takes their career seriously, and you really want to understand how authority and influence work inside organizations, hit subscribe right now and join the Power Moves family. Every week, we break down signals and dynamics that shape professional credibility. All right, so let's keep going. Another problem with being the easy employee is visibility. When you quietly handle problems behind the scenes, something subtle happens. The problems disappear. But so does the visibility of your contribution. Leadership often sees the outcome, but not the effort. Meanwhile, the person presenting the strategy or running the meeting may appear to be driving the result. Not because they're trying to steal credit, but because organizational visibility tends to favor decision makers, not problem absorbers. And over time, that difference shapes how leadership evaluates authority. Quietly solving problems builds reliability, but visible decision-making builds authority. Another hidden cost of being easy to work with is boundaries. Highly cooperative people often avoid saying no. They don't want to slow things down. They don't want to have that friction there. And they want to be helpful. But without clear boundaries, the organization begins to assume something, that your capacity is unlimited. And once that assumption forms, it is very hard to reverse it. Not because leadership is trying to take advantage of you, but because they have simply adapted to the system that has developed. When you never push back, People assume that your capacity is unlimited. The real goal isn't to stop being able to collaborate. Strong professionals should absolutely be able to work well with others. But there's an important difference between collaboration and compliance. Collaboration means contributing to the direction of the work. Compliance means absorbing whatever direction already exists. If your professional identity stays centered around absorbing work, your authority stays limited. But when your reputation shifts towards shaping decisions, something changes. Leadership starts seeing you not just someone who can handle problems, but someone who guides outcomes. And that shift is often what unlocks career momentum. Collaboration builds influence. Compliance builds workload. Being easy to work with is not a weakness. In fact, it's often one of the reasons that competent professionals become so valuable to an organization. But value alone doesn't determine your trajectory. Perception does. Influence does. Positioning does. And sometimes the professionals that are the most cooperative are the ones that need to step back and ask a different question. Not, how can I take on more work? But how can I make sure my contributions build authority, not just responsibility? If this topic resonates with you, great. This channel is built just for you. Make sure you hit subscribe to Power Moves at Work. Like, share, comment. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And be on the lookout for the next video.